I want to thank the Condon family for allowing me to get up here and talk about my friend Joe Condon. You know, Joe and I used to laugh that we went to different law schools together because I never saw him around the law center at all. He was in the law school that at about 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, he would pack up and drive straight down to Charleston so he could see his family, his daughters, and he never would come back until he got in the car early Monday morning, and he'd sort of schlep in through the back door of class, and that's where he'd be. So, you know, I had not, I'd gotten a job in Charleston at Grimble and Cabinets, and I knew that this guy named Joe Condon was also going to be working with us. So I said, Joe Condon, that's an unusual name. I've heard that, but I don't recall ever seeing him, and this is my third year of law school. So I asked some folks, I said, tell me about this Joe Condon guy. And they say, oh man, everybody loves Joe Condon. He's a great guy. You're going to love him. And so one day in the law school lobby, I got one of my friends to point out Joe. I said, where is he? He said, he's right over there. And so I walked over and I tapped him on the shoulder. And I said, hey man, my name's Warren Moïse. We're going to be working together down at Grimble and Cabinets, and if we can both get past the bar, it's going to be a lot of fun. He said, yeah, man, it's good to see you. It's great to see you. I look forward to it. And that's the Joe Condon I recall. He was a guy who liked to make other people happy. He was ebullient and full of life, just a wonderful man. So after we left law school, and thank goodness we both passed the bar, the first time too, and we went to work at Grimble and Cabinets. And just to show you a little bit about what Joe was like, he would get pictures of me and the other lawyers there at the office, and he'd make posters. And he would put our pictures, he'd try to get the ugliest picture he could find. And he'd put it on a poster, and he'd get there early for work on Monday morning, and he'd have these posters up on all across the office. And he was always doing things like that. He was just a fun guy to practice law with. After 3 years, though, he left and he went on his own. And I spent the next 27 years trying to talk Joe Condon into coming back and practicing law with me. And I never could do it. Because what he wanted to do, when he went out on his own, he wanted to represent the little guy. And I know that sounds trite today because we go by billboards with this and we see ads all over the place. But that's really what Joe Condon was about. He believed in social justice. And when I say those words, I think of Joe Condon. He's up there somewhere and he's laughing at me because he never would say something like, I was there for social justice. He just wouldn't do it, but he was. And between his church and his clients, that was a huge part of Joe's life. And some days I would come back, I'd be in Columbia or wherever, and I'd be coming back into town, or I'd be leaving, and I'd just drop by my buddy's office. He was over on Leeds Avenue. And I'd sit over there, and I'd put my feet up, and he'd put his feet up, and we'd sort of shoot the breeze about this and that, and let me pass this case in front of you. And he would take cases for folks who wouldn't pay him, and he would get a little grumpy about that from time to time. You know, I've taken this case, I got this criminal case, I can't get out of it, and they won't pay me a thing. But he would still work just as hard as he could from the beginning to the end. He would even take cases from folks who wouldn't pay him. They'd stiff him, and then he'd take a case for them again without having gotten paid on the first one. So that's the kind of guy he was. I don't know if many of you know this, but Joe originally wanted to be a priest. And I like to think about him as the would-be priest who grew up to be Atticus Finch, because that was his mindset. The biggest part in his life was his family. He loved his family, his daughters, Mary Kate, Teresa, his granddaughter, Abby, his wonderful wife, Debbie. And at one point, he even had Mrs. Condon, his mother, in there. He had his entire nuclear family in his office, working in his office. And he loved them dearly. If you look in the dictionary by Family Man, you'll see Joe Condon's pictures. But Condons never do anything halfway. And when they procreate, they procreate. And so he had many, many brothers and many sisters and even more nephews and aunts and uncles and those type things. And he really loved them. He loved being around them. He loved the family get-togethers. He used to talk about those things. So I have to say goodbye to my friend Joe Condon, but there's one thing that I do want to say, and that is that Joe, at probably the last 20 years of his life, would work and work and work, and he never would take time off. He was so concerned about providing for his family. And if there's anything that we can learn from Joe Condon, it is we need to see life is short and take advantage of it for what it is.